What is up, everybody? Welcome to the True Form podcast. On today's episode, I have Ireland on for a chat. And yes, we talk about pickleball, but it's so much more than that. If you missed it in the community during the week, there's been a big discussion about discipline, motivation, and what it actually takes to go out, smash it, and achieve your goals. And this episode was a perfect example of that. So a big thanks to Ireland for coming on and inspiring me. And I know you are all going to get inspired as well. It was great to hear where Ireland started out and where she is now and what she's going to be achieving in the future. And it just goes to show putting your head down and getting the work done will get you your results in the end. So whether you are into pickleball or not, this episode's going to be for you. I found it very inspiring. So again, big thanks to Ireland for coming on the show. Let's get into the episode. Ireland, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
Excited to have you here. So you were just in Melbourne for the, what was the tournament for in Melbourne? Just give everybody the brief description.
Yeah, it was the PPA Tour. It was the PPA Australia Open. So it was our first ever international tournament that we've done on the PPA Tour. So there's already a PPA Tour Australia that's happening, but none of our US players have ever gone over to Australia to play. So we just had that tournament 2 weeks ago, and yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, and that's sort of where I wanted to go first. So obviously pickleball is a lot bigger in the US, and it is, I swear, every month it's getting bigger and bigger here in Melbourne especially. Why do you think it's getting bigger and bigger here in Australia?
I always tell people, like, even in the US, I think the community is like probably the number one thing about pickleball. Like, I think in tennis or baseball or whatever, it's really hard for you to kind of go out and like play with, say, your grandma or your grandpa, but pickleball is a lot easier for any age and anybody can play it. So I think the community and like being able to play with your family, your friends, like I'll go out to a random court and not know anybody and make 10 friends. And that's just kind of how pickleball is. Even if you've never played it, you can show up to a court and go play. The reason I think it's getting big in Australia is because I think people are seeing it, how big it is in the US, not only on the pro side, but on the amateur side as well. And I think that they just want to get into it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I reckon that the community side of it is really good. And like you said, the barrier to entry is so easy. Unlike tennis, like
Right.
I definitely can't have a conversation and play tennis at the same time, where pickleball, it's good. It's good fun. It's good time.
Yes. Yeah,
How
for
did
sure.
you get into it?
Yeah, so funny enough, I was at Arizona State University getting my sports broadcasting degree, and my best friend's mom kind of said, "Hey, do you want to play this game called pickleball?" And I like kind of heard of it, and I was like, "This is like for old people. I'm not playing this. I'll just go one time and just whatever, make her happy, like hang out with them, whatever." So I went that day. I played 5 hours straight. And I was like, this is really fun. Like, and there was, there was older people, there was younger people. We were at this indoor pickleball facility, and I was like, this is really cool. So I ended up, that was in California. I ended up going back to college in Arizona, and my best friend and I were playing, and I was like, hey, let's go play at this one course. We started playing in Arizona a little bit, and my professor was like, hey, there's this pro pickleball tournament going on. Does anybody want to go cover it?
Hmm.
Because I was in my professional program. We did a program where we went live every day at 5 with a student run broadcast. So we went and did our own stories and stuff. And I was like, I just started playing. What is like pro pickleball? Okay, like I'll go and I'll go cover it, whatever. So I ended up going, and I was like, this is legit. Like, this is really cool. And I was about to graduate. I was like, how do I find my way? How can I work at this company? And so my first ever tournament that I covered was actually Major League Pickleball. But I met a few people there, and I was like, hey, I'm about to graduate. How can I get in? And I actually ended up meeting a guy, one of a pro player named Ryan Sherry. And if you know Ryan Sherry, if you're a pickleball fan, you'll know Ryan Sherry. And he is like the partier, the fun, the awesome like guy. And he was kind of like, hey, here's Hannah John's number. Kind of get in contact with her. And so I kind of went back and forth with Hannah Johns, and it kind of was like at a standstill for a little bit. So I was like, crap, like, what do I do? So I messaged our CEO, Connor Pardo, on LinkedIn. And I was just like, hey, here's the stories I've done for your company. I'd love to work for you. And he ended up giving me our president, Bryce Morgan's number, and I called him, and they flew me out to Dallas, and I ended up getting a job that way. But it was funny because like months later we had talked about it, and he's like, I never check my LinkedIn messages, and you just happened to pop up, and I clicked on it, and I was like, that's awesome, like super lucky, kind of just like if he doesn't answer, he doesn't answer, but at least I sent the message.
That's epic. That's
Yeah.
that's so cool. Um, Going back to that first tournament that you were covering, how was that for you? Like stepping into that, were you nervous?
I wasn't nervous at all. I think I was just kind of like, I have no idea what this is. I barely even knew how it worked because it was different format than PPA. So it was Major League Pickleball where they have teams, and there was a team called Arizona Drive. It's a different team name now, but I was like, okay, so they all live in Arizona, and they all play here and they train together, and so I'm chatting with them, I'm interviewing them. They're like, oh no, we actually all live in different places, and we also play on the PPA tour. And I was like, "What? Like, this is so confusing. What do you mean? Like, you're on this team?" And they're like, "Yeah, like, so we play the PPA tour, and then we'll go to Major League Pickleball and play on this team. There's a draft." And so I was like a little bit confused. I wasn't really nervous, but I was kind of like, okay, I'd like to learn more about the sport and figure out how the ins and outs work. But I kind of just went. I'm a pretty outgoing person, so I kind of just went into it being like, I actually messaged one of the players, and I was like, "Hey, I'm a student at Arizona State. I'd love to interview you." And he was like, cool, I can meet at this time. I'm like, great. So now I see him on the tour, and I'm like, you were my first ever interview. And so after that, it kind of, I just started, after I graduated, I moved to Dallas, and the rest is history.
Nice. And how long ago was that?
That was, so technically it's a year and 10 months. Yeah, a year and 10 months ago.
Mm. And how has your career progressed from then?
Oh my gosh, it's been amazing. So initially I kind of went on, and they said, how do you feel about social media? And I was like, I'm a sports broad, I want to do the sideline thing, but I'll try it. Maybe this will lead me into a different avenue. And I was like, I watch enough social media, I'm sure I can do it. So I started off doing the social media with the help of my amazing boss Trey, and he kind of taught me how to basically do everything, and um, content creation, and then it kind of just became like a world of its own of me kind of just like thinking of ideas and in doing them. And then now over the last like I would say like 7 months, it's really progressed into me being on camera more, and me kind of getting to interview like these insane names that I never ever would have been able to do my first year out of college. Like, never. I would have had to go to, a random city in a random state and kind of start from the bottom. And here, there's so much opportunity where it's like I went to New York City and interviewed Yannick Sinner and like all these like crazy people that I never thought I'd be in the same room as. Um, so I think it's progressed a lot in the last 7 months, where I've been like, hey, I want to do this. I'd like to be on camera more. I have a degree in it. I'd love to show more. So Australia came, there was only 5 of us that went. And I was like, hey, I'd love to do the sideline. And they're like, great. So I got to do the sideline in Australia for pickleball. And I was like, this is like, what is my life? Like, this is I just like so grateful. Like looking back to from like a year and a half ago, and I was like, I never thought in a million years I'd be here.
Yeah.
So it's progressed very, very nicely for me.
Yeah, definitely. That's again epic. But obviously, you wouldn't be doing the things you'd be doing unless you weren't good at what you're doing. So, again, I do social media all the time as well. So, any tips or advice for people in that realm to, again, work hard and progress and keep moving forwards?
Yeah, I just started recently in the past 6 months kind of posting on my own social media, whereas before I was like really nervous. I was like, what are my friends from like college and high school gonna think I'm like this new influencer or whatever? Like, and I was like, F it. Like, I'll just try it, I'll just keep doing it. And so I just every tournament I would go and kind of make a vlog, and then people were like, I like these. I think you should keep doing them. And I'm like, great. And then that led me over to like, let's do stuff for the PPA. Let's do these like green screen videos where you talk about the tournament and talk about what's happening in the tournament. So I would say like I think my biggest thing that I'm working on right now is like trying not to be so like broadcasty. Like my friends always make fun of me. They're like, you're using your broadcast voice. You're using your broadcast voice. And I'm like, I don't know anything else because it feels like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm trying to like be more of like my funny, like bring my personality out a little more because I think that, that's the reason why that's the way it's going to progress more. It's not going to be me being super like, this is this is that. It's going to be me kind of doing some funner, funky things. But I would say like for somebody that needs advice, like just keep posting. Like even on TikTok, like our TikTok grew. I think I started, really putting more effort into it on the PPA tour when we had like 10,000 and now we're at 55,000 followers. And it was
Wow.
just posting twice a day, like good points of plays and other kind of things, like fun TikTok videos that I do with the players. Um, but consistency, everyone always says this and it's so annoying, but it's true. Consistency is key. And I'm the worst at it because I'll go like 2 weeks without posting and it'll be so bad. I'm like, oh, I should have posted that. And then it's like, I gotta edit and then, it's a whole thing. But consistency is, I could say you literally could be posting a random video of you talking like to the camera for 5 minutes and post it every day. You're gonna gain followers no
Mm.
matter what. So I think, yeah, I would just say consistency is key. Say that 3 times fast. And just be yourself. I think people always say be yourself, but it's hard to like turn on the camera and kind of be like, okay, I want to be myself, but I also have this other persona. Like it's hard. It's definitely hard to kind of turn that off and just kind of be yourself. But yeah.
I think when you can sort of mix those two and get it right, I think that's when you can absolutely kill it.
Right. Yeah.
Any tips on being consistent? Because obviously I talk about like exercise, health, nutrition, all that sort of stuff, but being consistent in that, I've been trying to be consistent with social media posting and all that sort of stuff. But any tips on just being consistent with whatever you're trying to achieve?
I would say like I'm probably not the best person to even like talk about this because I feel like I'm not that consistent, but I think at least I definitely post like a story a day. So I definitely post a story a day so my followers can see at least something that I'm posting or like it's a repost of something that the PPA had posted because again I'm also editing. My main focus is my job and at the PPA and then my second focus is working on my personal brand. So it's hard to go edit for 8 hours and think of all these ideas, film edit for PPA, and then kind of come back and be like, okay, I got to edit these 3 videos for my own account, which I get so lazy at, and I'm like, I just don't want to do it, but I know it would be good. So like even the Australia stuff, like I'm working on right now. Um, Tips, I would say like if you just do it like a video for me, I've been doing it for so long now on CapCut, which is the best editing platform ever. I used to use Premiere Pro, hate it, but CapCut has been so easy for me and I can get it down now to where I can like do a video in 30 minutes. And so I'm like, okay, let me just put this time away for 30 minutes. If I don't finish the video, at least I'll get halfway through. But by the time I'm halfway through, I'm like, I have to finish it. So I think it's like if you just set aside like even 30 minutes of your day and like put something quick together, it could be 30 seconds. That will take you like 15 minutes. So, I mean, consistency is hard in anything, like, but I think as long as you're on a good path and once you post and you kind of see like how people react, it'll only like make you want to keep going. So I think just do it, post it, and if you don't get that many likes the first time, you're gonna get more likes the second time. And it's same with any social media thing. You can work on a video for 10 days, be like, this is the most amazing video, and you post it and it's like doesn't do well. And you're like, and then you post a video that you just no editing, nothing, and it gets a million views. And you're like,
Mm.
okay, well, that's just how it is. Like
Yeah.
that's how the algorithm likes to choose. But yeah, I don't know for tips. I feel like I'm not a good person for tips. I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I kind of do it whenever I have time.
Mm. That's cool. That's cool. So what does a day, because when people hear social media content creator, all that sort of stuff, they just don't know what that means. So what does a day in at work look like for you?
Right, so it's two different. So I have days when I'm at a tournament, or weeks I'm at a tournament, weeks I'm not at a tournament. So weeks I'm at a tournament, I work about 12 hours a day from start to finish, every day at the tournament. So I film like average 2,500 clips a tournament. So it's like start stop videos, like all the videos that you see of iPhone clips of pickleball has either been me or Hayden Shepard, who also works with me. So it's just, start and stop all day, like getting, the best points that we can get. Um, but so I do that pretty much the whole day, and then I'll do some like TikTok, like fun videos with some of the players and like some funny trending things that are happening. Um, And then I do all the stories too. So it's kind of just like I do all that, and then we also have Trey, who's my boss, who posts everything. So he's kind of the one that he does the graphics and he posts majority of the stuff, whereas we are the content creators and we create all the content, whether that be, just sending the point clips or making an edit of a really good match that happened. So our turnaround time is like 10 minutes from a match ends. We do a quick edit and send it off. So our turnaround time has gotten really good and really
Mm.
fast. And so even if a good point happens, we can get it up within like the minute that it happens. So it's cool with social media that if you're watching, on Pickleball TV and you see a really cool point, 5 minutes later, you can see it on Instagram, you know. So that's kind of what I do on the day to day at a tournament. And then also, kind of fight fires wherever's needed. If I'm needed somewhere else, I'll go in and help. That's kind of how our company is. You just help out wherever. And then at the office, I normally do some of the podcasting stuff and then kind of preparing for the next tournament and then also working on videos that maybe we didn't get done during the tournament since it's so busy, or uh or doing like the podcast stuff and then kind of just organizing all of our Dropbox and all that stuff and kind of getting everything organized. And then every tournament's different though.
Mm.
So I could say I do all this stuff at a tournament, but every tournament is so different. Like a huge thing could happen and then it takes, okay, let's an hour, let's, interviews. Like then I'll do, if an upset happens, I'll do interviews with the player who, beat somebody that was ranked higher or something like that. It's all kind of depends on the tournament. Everything's so different.
Yeah, that'd be very intense. 12 hours of just go, go, go. But
Yeah, well, I love it though.
yeah.
I love being a busy person. When I'm home like this for like a week, I'm like, okay, where am I going next? Like, even when I just got home from Australia 2 days ago, and I'm like, okay, I'm down to go back. Like, I'll go on another 16-hour flight and go back. But yeah, it just depends on the tournament, depends on the week in the office. It can be a really busy week in the office. It can be a more chill week in the office. But just trying to push out as much content as we can is the most important.
Mm. Just still on that content part, do you find it hard to go like from creating to consuming and trying not to get caught up in that consuming cycle too much?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think I'm like a doom scroller. I think that's
Mm.
what they call it.
Mm.
I definitely like consume so much social media, but um, I like to when stuff needs to be done, I make sure that it's done, and then I kind of, I like to say I do market research when I'm scrolling because I'm like, oh, I'm finding new ideas and whatever. But um, no, is that what you mean? Like
Yeah,
you're consuming? Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's hard. It's hard to like if you're consuming and you're like, oh, like I wish I did that video, or like I wish I did that video. I should have done that video. And or it's like use it as like, as something that you could make better or do it kind of your own way. That's kind of how I like to see it. But it's definitely hard. But when things need to be done, I definitely get them done because
Mm.
it's more important for the viewer to see. Like I wasn't like thinking, I'm like, okay, people obviously like consuming pickleball content because we see it in the views and the analytics. So it's like I'm excited to then send it off and get posted. And then I'm like, okay, let's look at the comments. Like, what do people think about this video? Because it's fun, because it's like something that you create, something that I, thought of in my head or whatever, or I'm copying a trend, but kind of do a little twist on it. It's fun to see other people's reactions to it.
Mm. And how do you come up with ideas? Like, because like you keep going, and for me, sometimes I just have weeks where I've just got nothing. I just can't think of anything. But then other weeks I'm just like boom, 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 pumping it
Yeah,
out. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I think a lot of my ideas just come from other sports accounts. Like I am a big follower of like the Eagles and the Chargers
Mhm.
TikTok. They have been like phenomenal. They've done like the most funny things, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go take that and do it with our pros, and it's kind of become like that. But for other ideas, like I don't know, it's fun to always see like people's stories. Like every single pro on our tour has a different story. And it's fun to kind of, talk to them. Like maybe you're chatting with them next and you're like, "Wait, like that happened, that happened. Like let's do a story about like this is crazy." Like so I would say like it's fun to, go with trends, but it's also fun to like story tell and tell people stories because that's how you get, the emotional that's how you get like people's attention I guess you would say, like, and people to love your players. And that's what we're really trying to focus on is like storytelling and loving our players, getting to know our players, and also loving the game of pickleball.
Mm. Let's dive into the interview side then. Uh,
Yeah,
like you've studied it, you're doing it. I think you're doing a great job.
thank you.
Any tips on, I guess, for me, interviewing? How should people approach an interview, like during the interview, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, it's been awesome for me just because I've gotten to know the pros really well over my time. And so when I started, my first sideline interview was in Arizona last year. Um, and I kind of was familiar with the pros, so it was a little easy, but I definitely still get nervous.
Mm.
Excuse me. I definitely still get nervous all the time. And Michelle McMahon, who's also an interviewer for us, she kind of like has given me a lot of advice to be like, sorry, there's something in my
Right.
throat. Ugh. So Michelle's given me, she's done NHL, she's done a lot of sideline stuff. So she's given me a ton of advice on like what kind of questions to ask. But I feel like when you're on live TV, it's a lot different than when you're in a setting where you can edit.
Mm.
Um, Live TV, it's like if you mess up, whatever you mess up, move on. But here it's like, hey, you can edit it. Let's try it again. But I don't think, I mean, I think you've had great questions. I'm probably talking so much, but um
That's what I want.
no, I think you've had great questions. I don't think, I mean, I'm not, I mean, I'm still like basically a year and a half into this. So I kind of just come up with questions on my own. Like if I see a match, I write down like notes in my notes app and I'm like, okay, this is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to talk about. And then I'll do like kind of a fun question at the end just to loosen it up or maybe at the beginning. But um any tips? I would say I always like to be like, okay, like when I'm like, yeah, there's a crowd of people, and I'm like, okay, no one actually like no one actually cares that much. Besides my whole interview that happened with Tyson and Gabe, which was like, of course. But I was like, whatever. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
But I think like, yes, people are watching, but they're more focused on what your interviewee is gonna say, anyways. So if you stumble, if you mess up, whatever, life moves on. Like, like the rules of it is like obviously don't swear and don't, just don't ask stupid questions, I think is the main thing. Like where I hope I haven't asked any, I might have, but I think it's just kind of like don't ask questions people already know the answer to.
Mm.
So I try to like, analyze it. If it's like an upset, I'm normally just doing I'm not on camera, so I'm normally just doing like with my phone like this of the player. So it's a little bit easier that way. And then I can edit and be like, oh, I hated that question. I'm editing, I'm taking that out.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
I
all
do.
kind of like I'm still learning. So it's all kind of whatever.
No, I do admire the doing it live. It's something like again, I get nervous doing this, so doing it live would be a whole nother thing.
Yeah, definitely in Australia, like the first day I did it, I hadn't done it in like a year. And you have like you basically it's called an IFB, which is like an earpiece, and so your producer can talk to you. So I'm like, I'm fine, I got this, I got this. So the players come over and I'm like, I'm getting a little nervous now, like, and you start to like forget your questions, and then like they're talking to you, and you're like, wait, stop talking to me, like I need to think of my questions. And so it the first like two, I was definitely like nervous, and then I kind of just got into a groove, and then by championship Sunday, I was like, I feel so good about this, I'm totally fine.
Mm.
But I also get like I'm like asking like our producer Keaton, he's our director of broadcast. I was like, was it fine? Or, was that fine? Did it sound okay? Did it sound okay? And he's like, yeah, I thought it was great. I'm like, okay, cool. So I always like ask because I'm like constructive criticism is the best thing for me. So I'd rather someone tell me than not tell me and then not be able to progress my career.
Mm. That's a good skill to have. Like being able to take criticism. Is that something you've always been able to do, or is that something you've developed over time?
I think I've always asked questions. I've always been like, am I doing this right? Tell me what I'm doing wrong, especially from people that are way ahead of their career than me, because that's like how you're gonna learn everything. You can learn as much as you can in college by your professors, which I did learn a lot at my school, and my school was amazing. But being in the real world, like being with, again, in pickleball, like being with all these like again, I go back to Michelle McMahon, who has had an amazing career in sports journalism. And I'll text her, like, I text her, I'm like, I'm doing sideline in Australia. She's like, you got it. Like, and so I just like having those people that really like, can come around you can ask questions to. Even Cameron Blackwood, who's another sportscaster, she does our pickleball TV desk with Matt Manassi. I even like asked her, I'm like, I just tell me advice, like tell me what to do. And they've given me like constructive criticism. They're like, hey, don't do this next time. Ask this way and never ask it this way. And I'm like, okay. So I've taken those things and been like, okay, I'm gonna take those, bring it to the next time I do it. And hopefully I'll be a sideline, I'll be a sideline interviewer for a while, but we'll see. I'm loving this social media thing. So I don't know.
Mm. What advice how do you know what advice to take and what not to take?
I think any advice from someone that's pretty high in the career that you want is good advice. I think you can take some, you can be like, okay, like, I'm maybe not really feeling that. But I think anything that someone's telling you in your career that they're higher than you, like not that everybody higher than you is going to be better than you. But I think they've already been through X, Y, and Z where you haven't been there. So it's like, okay, I want to learn, but it's hard to be like, oh, well, I know everything. Like it's hard to be like, oh, but I already knew that. I already knew that. But it's like, wait, but they said it differently this way. So maybe I need to think back of what I think I already know and kind of be open to learning more. I think that I learn something new every day. And I know everybody says that, but it's true. I learn something new every single day. And I'm like, wait, that and it's like even like being in the broadcast truck and it's like learning all the buttons and like learning how everything works, like kind of learning every single thing, like whether it be social media or broadcast, which I'm kind of learning too now in the same like, realm, which is awesome. Um, it's hard to say how do you know which is good advice and not good advice. I don't know. I just kind of take it and run with it and maybe you meet somebody else that's like, "Oh, I'm surprised that person said that. You should do it this way." And then you kind of, okay, which one's better? I don't know.
Mm. Mm. No, I like that. I like that a lot. Let's
If
say
that made sense, but
no, for sure. So what's in the future? What's coming up?
future, I have no idea. I'm just gonna stick on touring. So I have Hayden Shepherd now. So we split tournaments, which is awesome, where I don't have to go to every tournament now, which I got really burnt out.
Mm.
My boss had told me, he's like, you're gonna get burnt out. I'm like, I'm not gonna get burnt out. I'm gonna be fine. Like, this is gonna be great. And when we merged with MLP, I was like, oh, I can do all MLPs, like I'll be totally fine. And they're like, this is X amount of tournaments a year, and you're never gonna be home. And I'm like, okay. And so I started doing it and I was like, we need to hire someone else. Like, I can't do this by myself anymore. I was like running out of ideas. I was just like, I was so tired. And so for the future, I would say I'm going to stick doing what I'm doing. I think that this is just the best place to be in right now, especially as a female like sports broadcaster, because I'm getting all these opportunities that everyone else is getting. And we just did something actually on Women in Sports Day, and it was kind of like I kind of like looked back and I'm like, every idea that I've given to any of my bosses has been a yes, which is like I have total creative like freedom, which is it's not really common.
Mm.
So I would say future, I'm just gonna keep sticking with the PPA and hopefully get to do more sideline, get to do some more amazing, places like getting to go to Australia. I went to New York City and, getting to fly to all these places and meet all these people and making all these connections is just gonna set me up for success in the future.
Awesome. Sorry, two more follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Um, when it come to that burnout, did you realize that you were burning out, or did other people say, hey, you need to slow down, let's hire somebody else? Or did you come to that decision that you needed the help?
Yeah, I definitely noticed it in my work. I don't know if they exactly said anything, but I was noticing that I was like, not doing as many of the videos that I started out doing. I would do like X, Y, and Z every tournament and they'd be great. And then by the end, I kind of started like fizzling out a little bit and being not lazy, but it was just like I just literally like I don't have the brain capacity to to keep going. I mean, we had weeks where it was like 4 week stretches, so I wouldn't be home for a month and it was, 12-hour day work and it was a lot. So I kind of just went to them. I was like, hey, I need some help. And I've been super thankful because there's no way I would have been able to do it by myself.
How do you manage that work-life balance?
Oh, I don't think I do. I don't think I do. It's so bad. Like I'll be at a tournament and I'll have to like when I come back from a tournament, I have to like scroll down all my texts and be like, I missed this text, missed this text. I have certain people that of course I always answer to, like my mom and my best friend and people who I'm super close with, but they're always like, where are you this week? Where are you that week? And I'm in Dallas like I don't know, 30% of the year. And so it's like I have, my two roommates here that I kind of see and um managing it. I don't know if I figured that out yet. I
Hmm.
don't think I have. I think it's kind of just I just keep go. It's just go, go, go all the time.
Yeah. Do you think, like, because a lot of people talk about that, like the work-life balance, and you need to have both. But I find it, for me, myself, I find like when it's on, it's on. You just keep pushing, 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 and then when it slows down, then you take your time off. So do you think it's important to have that balance, or just like keep smashing it while you got it?
I think for everyone, it's probably different for everybody, but for me, I think my work has become my life.
Mm,
Like I live, breathe pickleball. That's kind of how it is, and I love it. Like I love it, and I made so many friends. And when I'm at the tournament, like I sometimes I literally am like looking back, I'm like, I can't believe this is my job.
mm,
Like I'm here at a pickleball tournament and we're having fun. We're playing pickleball. Sometimes it gets really hard and sometimes it's really frustrating, but it's also like I also always think back, I'm like, I'm just so thankful. Like I'd rather not be at a desk job. It just wasn't I love to like travel. I'm like a go, go, go person. And so I'm sure it'll, come back to bite me, but for right now, this is the perfect time for me to really amplify my career and hopefully just take pickleball like to the moon.
mm, mm. Well, I'm absolutely loving it. Uh, do, the work ethic and the mindset you've got is amazing. Like I don't see it a lot. What do your parents do? Do you think it's come from them or just the life you've been leading?
Yeah, my parents both worked, so I always kind of was like that, but I got my first job at 15 and I kind of was like always like I was
What
always
was
out
the
of the
first
house.
job?
It was at a gelato ice cream shop
Okay.
in California, and it was fun, and I became like a shift lead, and I thought it was so cool. I was like, yeah, I get like an extra 75 cents or something, extra 25 cents an hour or something, whatever it was. Um, but I started there, and then
Was that your decision or
yeah,
just, yeah? So
yeah, I
why
was like,
did,
I was like, I want to make my own money, I want to kind of have freedom and do that. But both my mom and my dad had successful companies. And kind of seeing my mom work too was like super helpful because a lot of people that I went to school with or whatever, like their moms didn't work, which is, that's being a stay-at-home mom is a hard job. And I
mm,
always tell people, I'm like, I don't think I could ever do it. I babysat for a while. It is so hard. And I think people don't give stay-at-home moms enough credit because very hard, difficult job. And I'm more of a person where I'm like, I think I'm having so much fun in my life right now that like I just want to keep going and going and going. But to back to your point, like being kind of like my work ethic, I guess I've always had it. I've always just wanted to work and I've loved all my jobs and I
mm,
did like a sales job for a little bit. I had like a dual internship for a summer baseball team. So I would do that I would do my sales job from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then I would go to this summer baseball team from like 5 to 10. So I did that over the summer and it was so fun. And I was like making money at the sales job. I was making pretty good money too, like over the summer. And then I would go and do this baseball internship and do interviews there and travel with the team around California. So I think then I never thought I would like be working a travel job. I don't even know where I thought I was going to end up. I honestly, after ASU, I was like, if I don't get this job at PPA, I'm going to go back and work this sales job
mm,
because I loved it. And then I got the job and I was like, I got this apartment in Dallas and it was like 6 month lease. And I was like, if I hate it, I can move back. And then I've
mm.
just stayed.
Dallas sounds like it is the place to be at the moment. So I'm keen to get
Yeah.
over there at some point.
Yeah, it's fun. Have you been to the States?
I have not. I have not.
Oh, okay. Well, don't come to Dallas first. Go to California first.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Will do. So you've said you've created a lot of contacts with the interviews, everything you've been doing. How do you maintain that relationships with all the contacts you make? Do you keep going? Do you chat to them? Do you message them? Do you just stay connected on social media?
Yeah, for sure. I think that the best thing about pickleball in the tournaments is that we see each other every week. So like pretty much everyone that I've met over time, I either see them at the same tournament the next year or I see them every week. But yeah, again, social media is a great way to kind of keep up with people, and I get really nice messages from people who I've met at the tournaments, or, you know, I meet like so many people every day at the tournaments. And so I think if it's a contact that I'd like to keep, I definitely will keep like, making sure that I'm still in their like, realm or whatever. But right now, since I'm loving my job so much, I haven't really thought of like keeping I mean, I do keep contacts, of course, but again, down the line, if I ever need a contact for something or whatever, I've connected other people with other people and be like, hey, I think this person would be great for you, for my friends' jobs, or somebody I meet, hey, I think this person would be great for you. Um, but I think it's definitely hard, like, just with my life and being, like I said, like, go, go, go all the time to, like, keep those contacts, but it is nice having social media where people can kinda see, like, "Oh, this is where she is this week. This is where what she's doing," and just trying to keep that, yeah, I guess, but I see most of them pretty much every tournament.
Nice, nice. So let's bring it back to pickleball. How long you been playing for?
Oh gosh, I think I started in 2022,
Hmm.
2022, so
Hmm.
3 years. I'm, like, probably a 3.0, but I play when I can. I love playing, like, in Dallas, we have a few pros here. I think we're playing on Saturday, so, it's super cool because it's, like, obviously, they don't wanna play with a 3.0 player, but, like, I don't know,
Mm.
actually, somebody said I was a 3.5 the other day, so I was like, "I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that I'm a 3.5." Um, but it's nice because a lot of the pros will play with you, like, if you
Mm.
I'll always ask them, like, "Hey, will you play with me today?" They're like, "Yeah, for sure," and I'm like, "Okay, great," because I can just go whoop on some people at this court with a pro. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah.
yeah, that was going to be my question. Like, when you're at the tournaments, do you get to hang out and play and chat? Like,
Yeah, for sure. It depends on the day. I think after 12 hours, like this is how pickleball is though. Like we'll work 12 hours and we'll be like, let's go play for 2 hours. Like
mm,
the whole team, the whole PPA team will go and like play after hours and play on center court and stuff. But for the pros, I usually don't ask during a tournament just because they're playing, obviously. But for the most part, if you like sometimes if you ask, they definitely will play with you, like a game or two, for sure.
yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Sweet. Well, again, amazing. Thank you for coming on. Any final thoughts or anything you want to share with my community?
Well, I know your community is probably all in Australia, so if you haven't picked up a pickleball paddle yet, definitely do it. You'll meet so many people. Don't be nervous. Go by yourself, go with a friend. People will be super excited to teach you how the game works anywhere. I know I was just in Sydney. There's some great places there to play. Melbourne, we obviously had our tournament there. Um, yeah, I would just say, and then yeah, follow us on the PPA tour. You can follow mine at Ireland Horvat. But yeah, if you want to follow along, it'd be greatly appreciated.
I'll definitely put all those links in the show notes. One last question. What was better, Sydney or Melbourne?
Sydney.
I knew you were going to say that after the
I'm
weather I've
such
seen.
I'm such like a beach girl.
Mm,
And we ended up staying in Manly,
mm,
and it was just amazing. We went over to Bondi. We went to Palm Beach. We went like an hour away to go there. We were at the beach every day.
mm.
Sad coming back to Dallas because it's like 45 degrees and gloomy. I guess you guys use Celsius. I still don't know how to figure it out. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I don't know how to figure out what do you
Um,
the Fahrenheit, so mm,
Yeah, that was a little confusing. I'm like, "Oh my" they're like, "Oh, it's 23 degrees." I'm like, "23 degrees?" I'm like, "What?" Because that's, like, freezing here.
yeah.
Um, but yeah.
Where's been your favorite tournament so far?
There's so many. I always love going I'm from Orange County in California, so I always love going back to San Clemente, and, Los Caballeros in Orange County. Um, I loved, North Carolina, and I loved Kansas City, and New York City was great too because we were in the middle of Central Park.
Mm,
So that was really cool too. There's so many. I love, I'm leaving on Monday to Arizona to our Mesa tournament, and that one was the first one I ever went to, so that one I always like that one, going back there.
any like what would make a good tournament and a bad tournament, or not so good? Like, what makes a good tournament?
I think it's different for everybody. I think everybody has their good tournaments, their bad tournaments, depends on, what happens at the tournament, or, if you're not feeling it one day, everybody has their off days. But for the most part, I think what's good about it is that you're so busy that if you have a bad day, by the end of the day, you're gonna forget about what you were mad about or what you were sad about. You're just gonna forget about it because you're so busy that you're working on all these other things. Um, I wouldn't say that there's necessarily any bad tournaments. I think every tournament is a good tournament. It just depends on, I guess, how you are, physically and emotionally at that tournament.
Mm. Um, a yoga instructor I had once had on the show, she explained if you approach yoga with the right mindset, like the mindset you approach the mat with is the vibe you'd get out of it. And I definitely found the same with pickleball. Like if you go in there to the court with a good mindset, keen to have a good time and all that sort of stuff, you're going to get that out of the game and out of the court. Like, so I
Right.
think it's definitely the mindset you go into it with, for sure.
Totally. Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I think, yeah, there's been days where I'm like, oh, like I'm having such a bad day. And then, somebody will make me laugh or something will be funny or I'll be super busy. And then I'm like, I can't even be mad. Like you know, obviously everybody has something going. One thing that like I realized when I, got a little bit older was like everybody has something going on in their life. So it's not just you that's, fighting through something. Every single person has something that they're fighting through. So that kind of has stuck with me for a long time where I'm like, okay, I'm feeling really bad about this, but also I'm sure 20 other people at this tournament are also feeling something too. So I kind of always have to go in and be like, I'm going to put on a smile. I'm going to, be who I am, who I want to be, to these people who maybe meet me for the first time or are at a tournament for the first time or just, found out what pro pickleball was. Like, you got to remember that it's always going to be somebody's first time and you want to make that like a special experience for them.
Mm, 100%. I reckon we leave it there on that note.
Awesome. Thank
Ireland,
you so much.
no, thanks for coming on. We'll definitely have to chat again soon. Next time you're in Melbourne, we're doing it in person for sure, or in
Yes.
Australia. Is the
Yeah.
is the next tournament going to be in Melbourne or somewhere else?
I think we're going back to Melbourne. I don't know for sure though.
Cool. Anywhere,
Yeah.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
I'm excited for
Awesome.
it.
Awesome. Yay.